what's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys, this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by MSOTD Rocks or Rock Metal Thrive. Guys, we're already at the end of September. Where the hell did the time go? Hey, we're back at live shows. We're having a blast doing that, and well, I got a little early stream for an album for this band that we're going to be talking to today, and I had one of those moments where after one of the songs, I was just like, whoa, now I get it. This was incredible. I'm glad I could talk about it and get you guys prepared for its release in November. Really give you guys time to sink into the album and really take forward with it. But before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, Phoenix Fitness. Yes, live shows fully back. I've been in mosh pits like crazy. Hell, I may sound a little nasally because I was in a pit previous night before I shot this. First 5 seconds, smashed right in the nose. So I'm going crazy there. I'm having a good time, but I'm surviving every single one. I'm going out there. I'm, really doing well. And of course, I'm not tapping out. Cardio is still good. But what made that happen? I went to the gym. I was making sure that I was in concert shape, ready to go, be in good shape, hit my fitness goals and whatnot. But when it came to recover, prepare for all this stuff, use proper supplements, that's where Phoenix Fitness came in. Having different pre-workouts, both stim and stim-free, BCAA recovery compounds, protein, AM, PM, right after your workout. Let's see what else they got. Creatine, multivitamins, whatever you might need to achieve your fitness goals from a supplement basis to really get you guys on the right track, really help you recover, prepare, all that good stuff. Phoenix Fitness has you covered. Our listeners get 15% off using the code MSOTD at checkout at fnxfit.com. Link description below. Thank you, Phoenix Fitness. Now, we're going all the way to Sweden for this one, my guys. So their style has been described as melodic death metal, mixing in influences of modern metal and metalcore. You guys know me. Death metal, not really my thing. Then I listened to this band called Eyes Wide Open. Their brand new album, Through Life and Death, comes out on November 12th. I listened to this album and, yeah, this is something that is dynamic, incredible, has theatrical moments to it, some chants behind it that really make this album seem larger than life, and it's just really good, guys. Let me tell you that. Louder than life, larger than life, just fantastic. So, Erik, the lead singer, Kristofer, the guitarist from Eyes Wide Open, they're on the podcast today. We talk all about the album, and we talk all about getting into rock and metal and what connects us to these songs. It's a good one, guys. Trust me on this. You're going to want to get in with this band and get ready for this album, Through Life and Death, November 12th. Are you guys ready? Let's go! Yeah! Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast, I get to bring you some absolutely incredible music right out of Sweden once again, and I'm not going to lie. I saw the press release on this band, and they said melodic death metal mixing influences with like more modern metal influences, modern influences, and metalcore as well. And you guys know me, death metal, not necessarily my thing, so I'm like, okay, let's see what happens here. I listened to this band's brand new album, which comes out on November 12th, called Through Life and Death, and not gonna lie, after the first 2 songs, I was like, this is not what I was expecting, but this is absolutely incredible. Let's keep this rolling. So, all the way from Sweden, please welcome Erik and Kristofer from the band Eyes Wide Open. So, guys, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being on, guys. How's everything going in Sweden? It's a completely still wacky time in the world with the whole COVID pandemic, but how's everything going over in your part of the world at this moment?
Yeah, I think things are starting to loosen up a bit. Restrictions are lifted, and we're actually really excited to have our first real live show in what it seems forever. Yeah. And it's actually the release gig, 13th of November. So pretty stoked about that. And we also have like a 10-year anniversary, so that's pretty cool.
So 10-year anniversary plus release show plus first show since the pandemic. This thing is going to be huge. Like it just, I've already got an idea of where you guys will go up on stage. Of course, emotions and anticipation is going to be rather high because you guys haven't been on stage for a long time. And it's, 10-year anniversary plus a brand new album, a release show for it. I feel like, you might have a little bit of those jitters, that first song. But this is what I'm seeing with every band I've seen play one of their first show since the pandemic. That first song, I can see there's a little bit of jitters in there, a little bit of like anticipation, a little bit of like pent up energy because it's the first show back. I totally understand it. But it's when you get to that second song because you got through the first one. and you're back. It's like you're back in that mindset playing. You're in. That's it.
Yeah.
Like one song, it's over. You guys are back.
Can really feel like the jitters already, actually, because from the time that the gig got booked, I was thinking, oh man, we haven't rehearsed one bit, and all these, like you said, the jitters and emotions come, and so I hope it is like you say, like one song and then we're in.
Yeah.
I'll say, don't worry, guys. You'll do absolutely fine, because this isn't just like one specific type of band. I mean, I've seen bands with more of that hard rock backing, more of that metalcore backing, some more of that like really hardcore punk style, and honestly, all across the spectrum. And this is typically what happens with these bands that are coming back from the pandemic with their first shows, especially when I'm seeing them. Again, that first song, of course, those jitters are going to be there. But once that first song is over, those jitters go away, and you are back in the zone. You are back to what you want to be doing. You're back on stage, and you're feeling the happiness of being back up there instead of the anticipation of finally getting to have that happen. So at that point, all of a sudden, you guys, I've got a feeling you're going to be loose. You're going to be just real comfortable up there after that first song. And then whatever you go into second is going to be incredibly powerful, and is going to blow the whole entire audience away.
That's what we're looking for. Yeah, I think we will go all in for sure. We're just sitting actually in the other room before we're recording this and planning the gig, and what we're gonna do, like show wise too, not only like playing wise, but what we want to give that night for the release gig.
So you're talking about just like not just the playing style, but what the actual show is going to entail in terms of what do you have else going on stage, the different things with the lights, maybe some different props you might bring up to really make this thing the proper release show, the proper anniversary show, and the proper comeback from the COVID pandemic show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're looking into pyro and light shows and stuff. Yeah. So I really hoping this will be,
sick.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
I don't know if you saw the video for Devastation, but that's how we want to. That's how.
That's what you guys are going to do for that. Oh shoot!
we hope for that at least.
Well, if you guys end up doing that, here's another thing I've been noticing as well, where especially this is from the fans' perspective, the fan side of things. We were without shows just as long as you guys were, because I mean, we love going to shows. We love being in those crowds. And like me, I love being in those mosh pits going absolutely crazy. I mean, like I said, I'm a little nasally because I took a shot straight to the nose 5 seconds into the show I saw the night before we shot this. So, however, it's the energy from the fans. It's also pent up energy too. We've been waiting for this. And sure, you're going to get a good amount of fans that have seen other shows already this year. But the fact that we were without shows for like a year and a half, we still want to go out and see every little bit of them. We want to make sure that we don't miss out on this. You're going to feel that energy from the fans, and you're going to be able to just feed off of it and create more energy for yourself so that you're going to be up on stage. The energy is going to be flowing from you, and then the fans are going to feel that. It's going to be this back and forth thing. So by the time you guys get to the end of your set, you guys are going to be super duper energized, and so are the fans.
That's the best feeling ever. When going, like playing a show and you get the energetic fans that give you energy back to really like make the show even better, and you usually feed from that.
Definitely.
A lot actually.
I mean, gigs that has this forth and back thing are so much easier, or like how we say, it's so much more energetic to play instead when it's just like a really dead crowd and you just have to give everything yourself.
Yeah, because if you have to give everything yourself, it's something where you're really trying. It's just when you're not getting that same response from the crowd, it does get a little bit disheartening in a way. I can totally understand that. But it's when the crowd gets going, and if you need to, call out for, split the crowd into, call out for that moment with the wall, then call out for a mosh pit, call out for a circle pit. Because there are times where, especially, fans coming back to shows, they might be a little anxious to have that happen. All of a sudden, you guys call out for it, and you guys put a spot on this, in the crowd, like, we want one right here in the middle of the stage. All of a sudden, here comes the crowd. They're going to converge to the middle with the guys that want to do it and the girls that want to do it. And next thing you know, that place is going to open up. You're going to see that energy just flowing. You're going to see bodies smashing into each other, and people are going to be it's going to happen. People are going to be high-fiving each other, hugging each other, having a great time. And it's just going to be something where you guys are going to see it up on stage and think, man, The energy is here.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the show even more now when I'm starting to get the pictures.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best feeling we're looking for.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I hope like I'm not adding more to that anticipation with like getting the mental pictures in there. But I mean, like I said, I've been back at shows for maybe, let's say, 2 months now that are like this, and now I'm getting more and more consistent with them, and it's just I'm keep seeing this over and over and over again. It's something that is gonna end up happening to you guys, especially with if your show's gonna be a lot of people's first shows back, man. And you guys are gonna bring the pyro, you guys are gonna bring the energy, the fans are gonna bring the energy. That's gonna be a night that people will not forget for a very long time.
Yeah, we're planning to actually live record it as well. And we'll see if there will be like a DVD release or something like that. So it's going to be a special night for sure.
Yeah.
You just got to make it a special night. And usually when those special nights, I'm not going to lie, because I've had those days too where all of a sudden it's like, okay, especially got this planned out. There's always something typically that just doesn't go according to plan. If you guys just roll with it and just play along with it, you're going to end up having one of those magical moments instead of, oh my God, this one thing didn't go right. Oh, now we're freaked out and just let it like completely just turn everything else around and just for the worse. No, you roll with it and everything keeps flowing to the point where all of a sudden that little hiccup that you might have had might be the best thing that ever happened to the show. Like all of a sudden, say someone's like your guitar ends up just getting unplugged or something during a song, and all of a sudden you can just have some fun with it, just roll with it, find a way to plug it back in real creatively. All of a sudden, okay, that's something people are going to remember, but they're going to remember you actively doing something like, okay, something happened. How can I still make this worthwhile so that people are like still into this, and then the energy keeps going back and forth. Then you come back, you finally plug it back in, you just go full on shred mode, and everyone's just like, yeah!
It's pretty funny that you say this because, you know, the shows when something really weird or like annoying at the moment happens, like you said, if something fucks up with a guitar or something, like when you're in the moment it really sucks, but you still have to like keep on bringing the show. But afterwards, after the gig, this is something we always talk about and have fun with afterwards. So
actually, when we played a festival gig in Stockholm, on the first song I went out and like full on headbang, and then started going up to the stage, lifting my foot on the monitor, and the monitor goes away. I'm just diving into the ditch.
And this was also the first gig for our new drummer that we got like 2 years ago.
Oh yeah. So
first song.
I have to pick myself up with the help from the audience at the front, and got my gear together and back up on stage, and just in time for the verse. So
I remember I stood on the stage and like, so, there goes our singer. Did he die? Like, okay, he goes up. Good. Let's continue.
It's like you fall. It's like, okay, please don't end up having what happened to Dave Grohl. Please don't break your actual foot. Like that'd be bad. And all of a sudden you pop up. No problem. But there's another thing too that you mentioned there, Erik. With you fell off stage, but all of a sudden the people in the front row are helping you back up. They're helping you get your stuff back together so that you can go back up on stage and get going with it. And that's something that, I mean, when the pandemic I miss with rock and metal is just how, especially with every single fan, it's a community. It's like a family. And all of a sudden, you like every performer is a part of that as well, where we see something happen with you guys. We're there to help. We're always there to help because we understand. We know what it's like. We want to help out each other. We want to make sure that these shows are memorable and the best as possible. So whatever we can do, we're going to do it.
Yeah, true.
I mean, that's like basically rule number one with the mosh pit. If someone falls down, you pick them right back up.
Yeah. We had like a really big mosh pit in a gig in Germany that there was a small girl with her mom, and her mom was like falling down. So basically I stopped singing and just like, pick her up. So it's pretty cool. Like people are, even though they mosh and it gets like physical, they are really taking care of each other. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every show I go to, we always say it looks violent. It looks horrible. Yes, it does from you when you look at it just from an outside perspective. But the best part about it is after the end of the song, you're seeing people high five each other. People are giving each other hugs. People are really going through this because people that get in those mosh pits, we're laying out a lot of emotion to your music that we really connect with when we're listening to it. So now we're able to actually express this in more of that physical way, but it's in a way that still is safe and contained. And other people are doing it. We understand the rules of the pit, and all of a sudden, at the end of the set, honestly, people are high five each other. People are making friends with people that they just went shoulder to shoulder with for 10 straight songs, trying to see who can knock each other down first. And all of a sudden, now you guys are the best of friends. It happened to me a good amount when I was out at the Blue Ridge Rock Fest in Virginia. There were a couple of guys that had these shirts that said Pit Crew on them, about like 200 of them. And they're just kind of basically controlling the mosh pits. And it was just absolutely amazing seeing what these guys would do. Because all of a sudden, if there was a problem, they took care of it. People fell down. There's like 5 people rushing to pick someone up.
That's awesome.
It was awesome to see. So now I got to ask you guys this, because you guys mentioned that show that was in Germany. Is Germany, like, when it comes down to playing, especially around Europe, is Germany that place where you guys really want to play, or is it Sweden or anywhere else in Europe?
We have been usually playing Scandinavia and like Europe around Germany. Yeah. But we really like to travel to other places. The States is really a top on the list for us, I think. And UK, we've never been to the UK. And yes, so there's a lot of places we want to go. Just haven't had the opportunities for it. So. Yeah. I hope some doors will open up with the new record and the new label, A Rising Empire. So,
well, before we jump in the record, I'll bring up a little bit of stuff with A Rising Empire as well, because taking a look at the bands that they have on the roster alongside you guys, because 2 of my favorites from there are Landmarks and then Venues. It's taking a listen to their sound, and especially with the growth of how they are over here in the States, specifically Landmark, after they released that record in January. Now we're getting to notice them, and when tours are able to start happening where bands over in Europe are able to come over to the US and do those, 2-month-long tours, I feel like Landmark is going to be one of those bands that ends up coming over. So that's going to add a lot more to the stock of the value of A Rising Empire, which is going to end up reverberating around to every other band that's on that label, including you guys. So it's just going to add a little bit more to, okay, we're looking for a band to go out on tour with here in the US. Let's bring a band over from Europe. Let's see who we can get, who's going to fit in with that style. They might just start looking at A Rising Empire band, see, okay, who can we get? Can we get one of these? Who's going to fit? Next thing you know, you guys are going up on tour here in the US, going on 20, 30 dates. And next thing you know, you're going to be playing at shows here. People are going to be going crazy in the pit. They're going to be realizing, this Eyes Wide Open band is incredible. Why haven't I heard about them before? That was me basically listening to this record too. I was like, I haven't heard of them before. This is absolutely amazing. What is wrong with the world here?
Thanks, dude. That means a lot, actually. I think the States has been like really hard to reach for us, mainly because it's travel distance and all that. And it's really hard to. We need some solid ground there to. Have someone to how should I put it? Like a main band that we could support and go over there and do some shows and have a fan base growing. So I think that is an opportunity we're about to get. So I really hope for it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the States are like already probably the biggest audience, but it's also like a really big country. So I mean, if you compare to, I guess it's bigger than Europe, right? The whole
I think in total area wise, from all 50 states, I believe it is. But and I know it's from if you go from the west coast of the United States all the way down to the east coast versus the west coast of the European continent, to where the kind of divides in Russia from Europe to Asia. I think it is wider in the United States. For everyone listening, don't quote me on that because I don't know the specific distance. I know someone might end up pulling that out, but if you pull out the actual statistics, I think it's that way. If not, then it's really freaking close. So again, we will look. You guys do have that massive amount of area to cover, And it's like with Europe and the US in a way that's similar is when you go to different parts of, with the US, you go to different parts of the country. With Europe, you go to different parts of the continent. There's different cultures, different regions, and the type of music that they listen to is kind of different. So like when it comes to Europe, from what I understand is like Germany, huge into rock and metal. Scandinavian countries, a very similar kind of style. You go over to the UK, I mean, you got bands like Bring Me the Horizon and Architects, who had a number 1 album in the UK this year as a metalcore band.
Yeah.
And then you come over to here to the US, it's like, okay, in the northeastern part of the United States, they have a huge fan base for this stuff. You go to Florida and Texas, they do have those fan bases as well. But mostly where I'm at in the like more Midwest part of the country, you know, more in the middle of the country, basically think Chicago and all around there. Like there is a huge presence. It doesn't get necessarily talked about that much in terms of popular media, but there's a huge presence. And if you guys are able to get on tour, it's like, okay, make sure you guys come around certain ones with these areas. But then again, it all depends upon the band that you guys end up attaching with and go tour with. But that's another thing as well. With this record, with Through Life and Death, the dynamics that are behind it, with the ability that you guys have to really work within this, the sounds flow incredibly well with so many other bands that are here, that a band goes on a headlining run and they're looking to put you guys on as a supporting act. It's not going to be hard for fans to get into your music, especially with how Through Life and Death was constructed.
Well, that's about our thoughts as well.
Yeah.
I think we have a couple of like dream main bands to go with and stuff like that. Like we talked about this, like going on tour with Killswitch or Trivium and stuff like that would be so amazing. And also like to do that in the States would open so many doors for us.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
okay, now I'm starting to think about both of those two and which one I would think would be a. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. For out of those two, I think the best fit for you guys would be Trivium.
Yeah,
probably.
When it comes, I was gonna say when it comes to Killswitch, when I think about Killswitch, I think about one of the biggest acts in metalcore across the whole entire thing. When I think of Trivium, though, I think Trivium is another big act in that as well. But their sound is so much more dynamic in terms of what they can do with the speed, with what Matt Heafy's vocals do. There's a lot there for a more dynamic sound. And after listening to Through Life and Death by you guys, by, of course, Eyes Wide Open, coming out November 12th, making sure you guys remember what day it comes out. If you don't, and you're watching a YouTube video, take a look at the bottom of the screen, because it's just going to be nice big letters for you so you don't forget. But listening to your guys' sound on Through Life and Death and thinking about how it could work in with, leading into Trivium in a live setting, that transition is very simple for fans to make. And of course, if Trivium's going to be the headlining band, they're going to be going to see Trivium. All of a sudden, they're going to listen to you and be like, okay, now I like this. Now I got to go check out more of this. Where can I buy, the vinyl or something like that? Oh, where can I, find these guys online? Next thing you know, every city you go to, all of a sudden, a little more merch starts being sold, a little more downloads start happening, a little more streams start happening, a little more, likes on the social media pages start really climbing. And honestly, that's why I think Trivium would be, if you guys could get on tour with Trivium, my God, would that be perfect?
Yeah, I think so too.
I think they also have like this, like we talked about, like we both have the softer stuff and we also have the harder stuff and everything in between, kind of, and kind of the same with Trivium. Like such a diverse sound.
Yeah, well, especially with Trivium in 2015 when they recorded, When the World Goes Cold and like Silence in the Snow, when Matt Heafy couldn't do unclean vocals, like that adds more to like the softer stuff that they can do along with you guys. Because again, Through Life and Death, I'm still gonna keep saying it. You go through it and there are songs that are heavier. There are songs that really go full force at it. But there are some songs that are more drawn back, a little more reserved. But again, it still all makes sense. You still know that this is Eyes Wide Open, but you're seeing more of a dynamic presence from them. So when you guys are constructing a live show around this, you're able to play with so many different pieces and work with so many different energy flows from, okay, this song is going to be really fast, really hard, really high energy, so the crowd's going to be going nuts. You might get to a point in the show where it's like, okay, the fans need a little bit of a break so that they can go to the end of the show and just go in full force. Okay, let's put a little bit of a softer, slower one in here. Not too soft, though, but, just to kind of a little bit of a breather so that all of a sudden we can go full force once again and the fans are like, let's go!
giving some pit stop for the next mosh pit. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what I love about certain bands I listen to. It's like, and go see live. It's like, okay, we're about, 8-9 songs into a set, maybe like 14-15 song set. Song 10 comes. All right, let's bring it down a little bit. I'm like, okay, everyone gets a little bit of a breather. Everyone gets a little bit more of time to just like mentally relax, and all of a sudden it's all right. We're gonna go into some heavy shit again. Woo!
Yeah, that's the stuff. I like that. It brings also the good energies to the show, and the mix of it all with the slower stuff and the faster stuff. When you get that mix right in the set list, it can be like really magical feeling for the audience. So.
Yeah, it's starting to get hard now. I mean, this is our 4th record, right?
Yeah.
Starting to get hard to choose songs. I mean, I think we have like 4 hours of music soon. So. We also have, as we talked about, like the diverse music. So to fit in a good set list, it's a job.
Yeah, we're like checking out the set list, and we don't want like two, maybe you can call them like slower songs or ballads or something like that in a row, or too many of them in a set, because we want to keep that high energy for the live shows as well. So,
but in the end, that's kind of a good problem to have, where you have a good amount of music. I mean, this is your 4th album. You have a good amount of music to work with. You have a lot of different dynamic sounds. You have a lot of different dynamic energies to work with in these songs. So it's okay. When you come put in a set list, you have many different options to work from. It's where the problem comes in is it's just not clear cut anymore. Especially when it comes to, you got the new album coming out and you want to play a good amount of songs off of that as possible. So you want to make sure that fits in, but then you want to play some of the older stuff that people really get into that you guys also really like. So
yeah.
It's a balancing game, but it's a problem. It's a problem you want to have, instead of like, oh, we don't know what to do because we don't have that much, or you have one album out and it's okay. How do we make a set list off of this when we can't really like? When it's like all of a sudden, we have to change energy from here to here to here to here to here, just keep going up and down. Can get really bumpy. But if it's like, okay, we're gonna get energy. Okay, drip down a little bit. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, maybe a bit down, and last 2 songs, full force, done.
Yeah, I've actually seen band like not having enough songs, so they do the hit as a opener, as a middle, and an ending song. And
that's a special show.
Yeah.
I think we have done this once, didn't we, in the beginning?
Yeah, like
we only had the first EP.
Yeah, we released one EP with 4 songs, and I guess we did like one of them at least 2 times.
Yeah,
on the set. So. Yeah.
Now it's kind of hard when we do, especially like if it's a support show, or like show like an opener or something, and we have like 25 minutes to play or something. Then it's really hard to choose songs now.
Yeah. It's not like you don't know what songs to play. You don't know what songs to cut.
Yeah.
Kind of from the set.
Because all of a sudden you might cut one song, and that cutting that one song might mess up the whole entire energy flow of the set list that you guys are trying to go for. And it's even, and I get it, like when you have 20 minutes, or if you're 25 minutes, or if you're like at a festival setting, you only get like 20, 25 minutes. It's how do we make the most out of playing, maybe 5 or 6 songs, sometimes even 4 songs only. How do we make the most out of it? And it is a challenge. I'm not going to lie. It is a challenge, but it's a challenge worth taking on, especially when you have when you're growing and you have more music out there. It's like, okay, what do we pick? What do we choose? What do we go with? It's better than, having to play like a hit song that you have 3 or 4 times in a set.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to please all the fans when it comes to gigs like that, because there will always be people like, oh, why didn't you play this song? Oh, why didn't you play this song? I mean, it's you have to choose wise.
Yeah, exactly. Can't pick every song, man. If we picked every single song to play, you'd be here for 5 hours, which I feel like a couple of you would probably really be into.
Yeah. I think I used this argument once, and then that's what I heard. Like, yeah, sure, you can play 3-4 hours, no problem for me.
And then you're thinking, I got to play 3-4 hours of this.
No.
All right, time to hit the gym. I got to work on some cardio before we play this show.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, but now I really want to jump into Through Life and Death because, of course, it is the brand new. I'm coming out November 12th. Again, remember that, everybody, because that date is rather important after you guys will listen to this podcast. Trust me on that. But usually when it comes to like an album like this, because I'm not going to lie, I've lived with this album for about maybe 2 weeks now, really going through it. I always put together a note sheet on the album. I'm like, okay, let's listen to these songs, see, put my thought process out. And not going to lie, you guys came in rather average on like my length of my note sheet as 16 pages worth of notes. So I came ready and prepared to talk everything about this album and ready to go. I wasn't going to miss out on anything. Trust me on that.
That's rather long.
Cool.
Yes. 16 pages. That's crazy, dude.
Hey, it's something I absolutely love doing because I get to actually when it comes to music, whether it's something that I'm really into, or I'm like, I'm not necessarily sure about this. What ends up happening is I get to go and dive deep into it, and I get to understand and realize some of the certain choices and the certain ways that things are being put together, different patterns, different uses of different influences, maybe some electronic sounds to really kind of bring out certain emotions through the meanings of the songs, and then everything starts to make more sense. So I can kind of see, oh, now I know why they did this. And maybe if I actually say something about why you guys did this, people might be thinking, oh, I never even thought about that. Listen to that song again. And then all of a sudden, whoa.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's hear it.
So I want to start out first by asking, because it seemed like especially with this album, when I was really going deep into it, it seemed like it kind of had this, through life and death. There's definitely going to be a theme surrounding life and death. And kind of, I was listening through it, trying to go through some of the lyrics to really figure out the meaning. I was picking up a good amount of that. And not going to lie, when I went through it, the titular song you have on here, which is song number 6 on the record, of course, Through Life and Death, I think that song really encapsulates the whole message of the album. So I want to ask you guys, is when it comes to the overall meaning of the album, what was that before I talk about that and see how close I came to what you guys thought?
Yeah, I think the whole album is through life and death. The emotions and all all you go through with life and death, death for others or your own death. And all the emotions or happenings in between. So it's a kind of vast theme going on. But of course, it's a lot of personal kind of demons issues going on here. And also some theme songs going on as well. So it isn't like a themed album throughout the whole thing.
Understandable. It's like when I was going with meaning of it, it's not going to be a concept album where it's got this same idea through and through. Of course, there's going to be different aspects. But when it comes around to okay, what's kind of the main idea throughout the whole entire thing? And I've got to look at the titular song because I think it really puts it out there. The meaning's about kind of what we go through life, and in the end, what's on this song is the theme of the album. As we go through life, death will come for us many different times and in many different forms. Not just the ultimate one where, life as we know it ceases to exist for us. These forms could be mentally or spiritually, emotionally, whatever it might be, because things come at you and they try to somewhat kill the person that you are on the inside and change you in a way. So you just aren't the person that you want to be. It's just to drop you from yourself. And this album kind of epitomizes those breaking through those moments when death comes for you so that you live past them. Whether it might be something where, dealing with grief of someone close to you dying. Whether it might be something that happens to you that makes you question whether what you're doing in life that is making you happy is worth it based on some other preconceived notion, based on some societal pressure, economic pressure, based on money, whatever it might be. It kind of takes a look at the beauty of life and really going through all those different aspects of death to the point where when the ultimate form of death finally comes, you can look back at life and say, I lived the life the way that I wanted to live it. And there's no better way to do that.
I think you put it way better than I did.
That's amazing.
But actually, that you're pointing out some stuff that that is really like you're head on this, because it is a lot about that, like going through death or from a relative or friend or something, and emotions through that, and how you live your own life to the expectations of society. You were really on point here.
Yeah.
I'm glad you saw through that whole concept and put some words on it. So next time someone asks about this, I'm gonna make them call you.
All right,
you're way better talking about this than me.
And I got it all written down too, and got it all saved. So if you send someone my way and be like, okay, I got this, I can always send them this podcast as well. But one of the biggest,
that was really cool.
Yeah,
I got blown away here.
I'm not gonna lie. I think one of the biggest reasons for me why I kind of always think about that in that way and really connect within more of the aspects of like the smaller forms of death that kind of try and take you out is because I've dealt with something like that before a couple of years ago, where all of a sudden there was in my life a death of a relationship where, again, this girl I never dated, everything seemed good, and then all of a sudden stuff started going wrong. Just life happened basically, and it just wasn't working out, and it kind of wrapped my head around certain things. But the real reason why all of a sudden I went down to the spiraling depression was because I got out of college and just got my first job at college. I'm like, oh yeah, this is good. But as I was going through the first couple of months of that, I absolutely hated it. And the reason I kind of just really spiraled around it was because I thought that's what life is like. Is this what life's supposed to be like? And in my whole entire time and, growing up, in my head, I thought like, this is kind of how it goes and this is kind of what you want. And when I got to that point and I realized that isn't what I wanted, it was kind of like the death of my whole entire idea and mindset happened. Yeah. So I had to deal with that. But then it also kind of gave birth to what you thought was we wanted is not what you want. It's not anything that you want to go through. Yeah. So how about you figure out exactly where you want to go with this? Give something else a shot. Try different things, because why live life going to work, coming home, sitting on the couch watching Netflix, and doing that every single day and just wasting a life like that? For people that really want to do that, though, then you're not wasting your life if you want to do that. Me, I hated it. I didn't want to do it. So for me, it was a waste, and I had to go through that little form of death in order to go through and actually start living life the way I wanted to live it.
Yeah, it's cool that you say it, because like every death forms a new life, and also in the other way around, pretty much. And those subjects that you just talked about, we have talked a lot about this. And also when we kind of write the lyrics for the album and for the songs, we always have like long discussions about subjects before we even start to write the songs, to see what has happened in our lives, what happens in the world right now and stuff like that. And then it kind of draws into lyrics after that.
And I think like what you said there, like sometimes you come to a point when you have to like reinvent yourself. As you said, like a small death to like be reborn and do something better for yourself. So that's a key component as well in the lyrics.
And now that, there's a good amount of times on these songs where when we get to the chorus of these songs, and I mean, I'm looking to try and pull up examples of this, because there were a good amount of examples of this where it sounded like there were a good number of backing vocals behind there to create this full-on chant style. And when I looked at that, there were two major reasons why I'm like, okay, I'm really being drawn into this. One is just because it creates this grander feel, more theatrical in overall nature, because it seems like it's bigger, it's more impactful in a way, and people kind of can connect with that in terms of that emotion. But when it comes to this whole entire, life and death kind of idea, it feels like, you're potentially going to have to try and circumvent other aspects in life that are coming at you to try and take you down and make you kind of not be the person that you want to be. But it's like when you hear those chanting vocals that are kind of pressuring and kind of like pushing you to just keep fighting, like on Burnham, it's just something where it feels like now you have this army of a bunch of yous behind you, ready to go to battle and ready to go to war for you to make sure that when whatever is trying to take you down, when everything comes to an end, you're the one that's left standing.
Yeah, that is really special as well, because we had all our fans on our Patreon page join in and do the chanting vocals for the bridge there. So that is actually a fan choir.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, really cool.
No way. Because I remember, like, I'm pulling my notes on this right now, because when it came to the bridge of this, like, especially on Burnham, that chanting vocal, it reminded me of something that I heard from the band AFI around like 2006. I've heard them do chanting vocals back in their December Underground album. And then, Eric, with you ending with those more unclean vocals to go back into the chorus, this really makes us feel like we are going to war with our demons with an unprecedented army that cannot be defeated behind us. I love the power behind it because it makes it sound so full. And now knowing that that's a fan chorus behind it as well, that just adds so much more to it, because now it's literally a whole bunch more people behind you. It really feels like everyone, even like a bunch of different yous, is behind you to face off against whatever's trying to take you away from being who you truly are.
Yeah, definitely. I remember it was so cool when we got the vocals, because I think is there 20 people or something that's singing
something
this?
like that.
And we got like each one kind of recording to their phone and sent us because we also produce our own music, so we got like all the files and then put them together, and like that feeling was so cool because everyone did their own style. Like some people were singing, some people were screaming, some people were whispering and stuff like that. So it was
and we wanted it to be like a full Viking ship going on like here. So we wanted to have a lot of voices and as many as we could get from our fans, and that was such a cool experience, and I think they really liked it too, to be a part of this.
Yeah, and it's so cool to have them like on the album, because also when they are Patreons, they make the albums possible, so makes it even more cooler.
It's like with your fans on Patreon, they're the ones that are like really helping you guys make this album, but now they're seeing that and they feel more a part of it, especially being brought in and basically featured on a whole entire song, which is absolutely incredible. I've seen something similar like this happen and worked out incredibly well when While She Sleeps did the exact same thing in terms of bringing in Patreon and just using different fan vocals and different fan things for some. I think it was on their, I can't remember what song it was on their album Sleep Society. I don't remember what song it was, but I know they did it, and it just adds so much more connection to the album in terms of the fans' perspective, because even if you weren't included on it, in terms of like you wouldn't have the vocals that were on there or submitted that were used, you still feel a part of it in a way, because you still feel like it's your voice. It still feels like, it's the voice of the fans that are really behind you guys. And especially when it comes to listening to the album, listening to that song Burnham, and really feeling like, you can burn all those demons in front of you and really take them out. Yeah, just having that backing there. Now it feels like, you have the whole entire group of fans for Eyes Wide Open behind you, having your back. Basically like, you and your demons are in a mosh pit together, but everyone on the outside is helping you.
Yeah. Well, it was really empowering to do this, and as you said, the song is about like burning your demons down and go straight through them, go past them, and make something else out of your life than like concentrating on the demons. You have to face them and get rid of them. So it was really empowering to have the fans backing us up on this. It was really cool.
And isn't also like the lyrics a little bit also about having the help from your close ones in this fight? So
exactly.
So in our case, it's the Patreons.
Yeah, and when it comes to people in terms of that are going to listen to it, when you guys really wrote this and looked at that, it kind of relates right to the patrons on Patreon that helped you out with this to help you get past whatever obstacle was in your way. When it comes to us, though, as the fans, especially people that, might not have been so like involved with the making of that song, you might think it's going to be hard for us to get into something like that because that's what the intended meaning was, which is absolutely not the case. Because when we go through things in life where we need help, sometimes look to the people that are close to us, our families, our closest friends, and just really kind of confide them and just like ask for help. And they're going to go to war with us. So we can easily relate to that through the lyrics, especially when it has a little more of that metaphorical build to it, because now all of a sudden you're guiding us along the path of the story. You're guiding us along the path of the emotion. But when it comes to putting the specifics of that whole entire story together, you're leaving that to us to put our own take on it so that when we listen to it, we can connect with it in our very own way. And that just makes the song so much more powerful, because when you guys finally get a chance to play this live on November 13th, so if you're in Sweden, make sure you go to that show, because I'm jealous I can't go do that. Thanks, COVID. But it's something where you're going to have people singing this song back to you, really feeling the emotion of it. And everyone's going to be singing it to you with the same emotion, but the reason is going to be completely different.
Yeah. And that's also a really good thing to talk about. I tend to write more, how do you put it? Like you said the word.
Metaphorical?
Metaphorical, thanks. And I think that is a more colorful way of telling a story, and also a better way for people to interpret them in their own way, how they want to like look at this theme and the song. So I usually do that.
Well, more giving them the theme, and then they can start like their own version of that theme.
Well, it's kind of how you write your lyrics well, because when I was looking through them, because when I was going through this, the lyrics to Burnham were available. So I'm like, okay, now I can actually take a look at this and read what you actually wrote for these to really figure it out. But when I went through it, it was something where I saw there were a lot of metaphors in there. I clearly could see that, and I could clearly hear that. But this is the key when it comes to like using metaphors. You don't want to go way too vague with the metaphors, so that people, when they're trying to follow along with the emotional journey and then put their own perspective into it to really connect with it. Sometimes when it's way too vague, people can get lost. So you kind of don't know exactly where to go, and you're just kind of just listening to the sound and just, full on vibing with the song instead of really connecting with it. But if it's something where it's, the lyrics are incredibly specific, then it's harder for fans to get into, because if you didn't go exactly through that or something incredibly similar to that, you're not going to fully relate to it. But when you find that perfect balance, especially like you did on Burnham, I'm going to have to use Burnham again because it is a perfect example for this. When it came to the lyrics, you found that perfect balance where the metaphors were going to guide you along through that emotion. They were going to basically kind of hold your hand and walk you through the emotion. But when it came to really putting that story together, that's where the listener comes in, because they're going to put their own spin on it due to what they've gone through in life.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like everyone has some of their own demons or issues, and like a song like Burnham is really like portraying the whole spectrum here. Like I think people can relate really easy to like having to face your demons and like just burn them fucking down and get past them. So I think that is a fighting song for people.
I mean, that's definitely one where people can I feel like people are going to really be able to connect with it and just be like, okay, now I feel like I can fight this stuff and really go through it. And there's another song on the album that I connected with in a somewhat similar way by just sheer happenstance, and it was Wildfire.
Oh, really? Cool.
Because I'm not going to lie, I'm going to go through this, because like when I listened to it, I was trying to figure out where this song was coming from, and it's very similar to Burnham, where it's like, there's a lot of demons that are going to be coming for you, and you got to keep trying to fight through them. You got to keep trying to persevere so that you continue to stay alive for yourself. However, with Wildfire, it was a little bit different, where it's, it feels like kind of at times everything around you is trying to consume you and prevent you from being the person you want to be. And it could be things that have a lot of great promise, and we might be blinded by that light, the possibility that they bring. But when that light is literally from a wildfire, it can consume everything around you and basically reduce the person you are to ash. And it's also kind of brings forward this, you have to be that wildfire inside you in order to make sure you burn brighter and not let the other potential influences burn so bright that you're attracted to them. You want to burn brighter so that you don't even notice those influences that are trying to change you and take you away from being the person that you truly are.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a thing about like misinformation and the stuff that really can put you down as a human. Uh, and I think like all this misinformation spreads like wildfires. Even if I tell Kristofer something and he will tell another person the same thing, something always alters, and like it can become a lie in the end, and it could spread like wildfire on social media platforms or whatever. And so you have this one right as well. It's like uh, pushing away those kind of um, misleading, blinding lights.
Yeah, because when you have those misleading lights, they're gonna end up trying to lead you astray. And I think using misinformation is a fantastic way to describe it as well, especially what we've gone through in the past year and a half. There's been a lot of misinformation spread around the whole entire COVID pandemic with the vaccine. Here in America, especially what we went through in 2020 with the presidential election. I mean, they always talk about fake news and misinformation. That was spreading like wildfire. And the internet does have a huge presence in that, specifically social media. And this is also where I think wildfire could easily work within the social media aspect now that I'm thinking about it, because when you look at social media, everyone's putting out the highlights of their life. They're only putting out what's good. They're only putting out what they think, is going to make people think, oh, I'm going to like this. I'm going to comment, oh, wow, this is cool, and potentially make people jealous. But the fact of the matter is you're only looking at the highlights. You're not looking at the lowlights. You're not looking at what they're doing every single day. And it can really sort of mess with your mind because you're blinded by the light of, oh, this person I know that I might not be the biggest fan. They're always traveling. I wish I was doing that. They're always going. They're playing music. They're going to concerts. They're going to sporting events. They're going and having these fantastic adventures. And I'm just sitting here doing nothing. Well, maybe this is something that they spend all their money on, and when they come home, they struggle. You just don't know. I hope people are struggling, but you just don't know what it is. And if you kind of look at that misinformation, you look at those highlights on social media, it's those influences burn brighter. So you might be thinking, okay, I want to be doing what they're doing, but that could take away from what you actually want to do in life. It could take it away completely. So it's basically the fire inside.
Lost you.
Oh, you still got me?
See.
You guys still got me?
Oh,
yeah. No,
there you go.
Gotcha.
You're back.
I was like, what the heck was going on? Because I still had you guys. I was like, okay, this is weird. But already, kind of bring that to a idea to a close. Like when it comes to social media, it's the highlights of other people's lives. It's like the wildfire. It's like the things that are burning brightly that you might be attracted to. But you got to make sure what you're doing is what you want to be doing. You're bringing happiness so that the wildfire inside you is burning so bright you don't even notice those people that are on social media doing the highlights or, oh, everything's going so well. When might not be. You never know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's almost like social media is a bit like selling. You only show the good sides.
Yeah, it's the commercial side of you.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
you're showing all the good stuff, and some post like negative things as well. But I guess those posts is more like trolling and stuff like that. So usually you see like person's highlights, as you put it. So yeah, wildfire should really be about stuff like this. You should try to avoid getting opinions and like be a person because someone tells you something that you don't really know if it's true or not. So
and really to form your own opinion.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, much like Burnham, but like when it comes to Wildfire, like the chorus, I think this adds a lot to as well, because you do have like this rougher, clean style that is very similar to like what we had in the intro, because the intro had the same lyrics as the chorus, but it is melodic and has that chant quality behind it once again. And I love the chant quality because it calls out your emotions to realize you need to burn brighter for yourself than the others around you. And it's like the chant has more of that call out feel. It just really impacts you and really makes you realize what's going on, because when you're hearing it from so many other voices coming right at you, kind of has a little more of a realization aspect to it. It's like, whoa, okay. It's like an epiphany at this point of everything's calling out to you at this point. It's like, here's the sign, dummy. Don't focus in on what everyone else is doing. Don't focus in on, the highlights of social media. Don't focus on misinformation. Don't focus in on all the other influences in life that are trying to take you away from who you truly are in your heart, who you truly are at the core of yourself. Burn brighter with your happiness, then those are going to be burning brighter to your own vision or perspective.
It's really cool how you like check the production things of the songs and also make that like into the lyrics. I think that is, I don't think we really thought about that point of view you're discussing right now, because that is pretty cool.
Yeah,
like
I think so too. Super cool.
When there's like more voices telling you this, it's gonna be more like an epiphany and a realization.
More powerful. Yeah. I think Wildfire, like especially vocal wise, is one of my favorite choruses on the album. It really like, I think your voice is amazing on Wildfire.
Thanks, dude.
Oh, it absolutely does. And I think even when you got like me bringing it up, you guys might not have written it that way, but emotionally you guys might have felt it that way, just because that's something I've been looking at, especially when I've been talking with different musicians as well. When I've been bringing up this stuff, there's certain things that I'm noticing. It's like, oh man, I never even thought about that. But maybe emotionally, like when you're thinking about it, okay, you want to really make this stand out. You want to make this really hit so that people really concentrate on that message and really feel it. And when you bring in that like chanting style vocal in the back, you might think it's like, okay, this is really going to make it a little bit more impactful. But then on the other side, emotionally, it's going to make you realize that it feels like everyone is calling out to you. It feels like, when people are like, oh, please send me a sign. It's like, here is your sign. Here's everyone telling you, here is your sign.
Well, that's really cool. I haven't really looked at it in that sense. It's more like a production thing, and really want to like give the impact to the chorus. But it's getting clearer when you say it like this. It's getting more impact with the lyrics when you put it in that sense.
Oh, well, and then even you throw the instrumentals in there because, well, I got to go to the bridge and the breakdown this one because or the bridge flow, because like all of a sudden what happens is it adds so much more to it, because in the bridge, like I got the guitars and drums, they began with like this lower chug to start out to build that fire inside you. And then the drum starts to get more filly within there. It gets more prominent in the second half to keep that driving up until the final chorus ends up going a little more melodic. And it feels like that fire inside us has completed and is now like fully out there. We've made it to the front of all that crap now, in front of all that misinformation. We've made it to the front of all that, getting past the highlights of, social media. And it feels like, at this point, that fire that's inside us is finally burning brighter than everything else around there. Then even with the bridge from the vocals, you start, Eric, what I got from you is you start out deep with the rougher cleans as the bridge kind of builds on, especially with those drum fills adding in. The vocals became more forceful and loud, like the fire inside us is finally building to break free and shine. And this build is well worth its placement with the vocals as they work in conjunction with the drumming fills to create this overall feeling. So when we get to that final chorus, it doesn't feel like we're being told, like kind of like having that feel of like, realize this, that you have to do this, have that epiphany moment. It's by the time that final chorus hits after that bridge, that you're not talking about the epiphany moment. You're having it at that point.
Oh, yeah. That is also a really cool view of it. I think like the bridge there is a really good build up. I think it's I think they have like a Slipknot quality feeling to it. Like now we're getting it. And
with the big drums and
shit's going down, like something like that. And then when we open up to the chorus, it's getting like really big and heavy. So it's it's a really cool way of seeing how the lyrics come through with all these emotions that you interpret from this. Your relation to this song. It's really cool to be a part of that.
Well, usually what I do for that is like, I always look at the meaning of the song first. It's the first thing I try and figure out because that really can tell me a lot about the song and how it's constructed instrumentally, how the drive it is, how the vocals work within it. But then I was having this huge discussion with someone, maybe end of 2020. They're a big fan of popular country music here in America. And I'm like, yeah, not really for me, man. And we were talking about why we like it. And it was for him, it was listening to the vocals and listening to just the actual words and how they're being sung. It was the way that story was being told was something that he related to in life. And I realized when it came to the music I like, that's something very similar for me. But like I get that from the instrumentals. Because the instrumentals, the way they drive, different double kicks on the bass, different things you're going to bring in with the drums, different fills, different tones using the guitar, different slides, whatever you might be doing, and then how the vocal tone and pattern, and if it's unclean or clean vocals, how that all works together. That's the emotional guide right there. It's not necessarily the lyrics. The lyrics are the guide for us to start to put the specifics of our own life into these songs to really relate to them. For me, it's the instrumentals, and that's why I always do, after finding out the meaning, I go through instrumentals first because I can actually fully feel how this is happening. I can feel this song driving forward, and that's why when you have that with Wildfire, when you build in that bridge and then seeing that Slipknot kind of quality second half to it, especially with how heavy the drumming is, different styles with the toms, and just how different these fills are to really build that up. So when you get to that final chorus, which does have more of a melodic tendency to it, you get from that point of this is where your epiphany needs to happen, this is where your realization needs to happen, to this is where it is happening.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I have exactly the same way of like feeling music. I'm tending to go for like instrumental first and like the groove and the melodic style of the music, and like lyrics comes in last for me somehow. Like, but when I realize what the lyrics is about, it's like it's elevates to another level instantly. So it's the instrumental is the start for every listen for me.
The instrumental gives the lyrics a chance.
Yeah. Something like that.
I kind of like thinking about that too, because whenever I listen to music and have bands in the podcast where it's like sometimes I have bands in the podcast where their music and what I usually listen to just don't match up. Sometimes that happens. But when I go through music, like once I understand the meaning of it, I'm like, okay, now let's actually take a look at the instrumentals and let's see if I can really figure out how they do this. While it might not necessarily be for me, I can start to figure this out and understand why they went with the way they did. And it might be because, well, we just have different tastes in music. It happens. But it's like with that, I can appreciate more of what they've done as artists. I can actually understand where they're going with it and how they're trying to express and how other people can get into it instead of being like, oh no, this ain't good. No. If there's gonna be people that like it, if they connect with it positively, why try and force that kind of a change? I'd like for them to, listen to the same kind of stuff that I like to listen to. I'd love for them to listen to bands like Rise Against, Ice Nine Kills, Fall in Reverse, Eyes Wide Open. But if they don't necessarily fully connect with it, then it's like, okay, maybe we start talking about why we like this stuff, why we connect with these songs and talk about different things in life. And next thing I know, I'm bringing up something about, social media, fake news, misinformation. And then we start listening to Wildfire and then they're just gonna be like, whoa. And they're going to listen to all of your stuff. And it's like, okay, now you guys got a fan right there. And I'm just sitting there thinking, got another one, guys. We got another one.
It's pretty cool that you also mentioned that, like the country, your friend there. Like it feels like in metal, it's a lot about the instrumentals and the vocals, but in more popular genres like country or maybe pop or something, it's a lot more about only the singing, pretty much. Like maybe 99% it's like the vocals needs to be there. But it feels like metal is more, a big part is the music. And like we talked about, like the music gives the lyrics a chance. And it really differs between different genres. But
Oh, I agree with you 100% on that one, man. I easily agree with you on that. And it's just, everyone relates with different things differently. Everyone goes through life in a completely different way. And how their minds work are going to relate to different sounds and different styles. But if we're able to talk about music in terms of why we like it, why it makes us feel that way, why we connect with it, then it's going to be something where all of a sudden we're talking more. All of a sudden people might be talking about different kinds of music where all of a sudden, like, I started getting really into post-hardcore stuff because people started talking about it, and I really started kind of like, okay, I kind of see where you're coming from here. Listen to more of it, and all of a sudden it was like, okay, let's add post-hardcore to the mix.
Next thing, it's really cool. Like the fan bridging for music is really cool. Like, and you usually get into another band through a friend or something like that, and usually it can be like a band you don't have any relations to at all. You don't feel their music, but as you said, like you can be introduced to one song, and that can alter the perception of the band totally.
Like that is pretty much for you and me. Like you showed me the melodic metal stuff, like especially the Swedish style, the In Flames, Soilwork and stuff like that. It was Erik that brought that into my life like 10, 15 years ago, and I don't think we would have been sitting here if that wouldn't happen. So it's really cool.
Oh, I can attest that as well with two other examples. My one friend is the same friend for two different bands, but he absolutely loves Beartooth. Just a huge Beartooth fan, and this was I think 2017 or early 2018. So he's trying to get me to listen to Beartooth, but I'm like, I'm not just fully into like the heavy, like a more heavy style, like, even though it's not as heavy as stuff I listen to now. But it's like I just wasn't fully getting into it. But all of a sudden, when they were starting to do their third album release with Disease, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll give it a shot. And I listened to the lead single, and I was just like, my buddy Chris was right. Like, dang. And then it was the same thing that happened in 2020 when Polaris released their third record, and he was pushing on me on it super duper hard. And I was listening to it in the car, and I'm just like, okay, I kind of see where he's coming from now, more in a metalcore, but something just wasn't fully hitting with me yet. And then I listened to this song called Above My Head. I listened to it once, and I stopped the album. I was driving the car. I stopped it, and I just was driving in silence for 5 minutes because something hit me emotionally. It was like, what did everything I just went through from like when my life went to crap in 2017 on, and just the explanation that and the emotion that, did I just hear that? So I sat in 5 minutes trying to figure it out, and then I listened to it again, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm a Polaris fan now. Damn.
It's kind of cool that can change. Like you hear something for the first time, and you're like, maybe not my cup of tea. And then later on, like when you really find it, you're like, that's the thing. That's what I need.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just somewhere where the more we talk about music and the more we talk about it with people that don't all like the same stuff that we do, or anybody else we talk about, it's when we talk about why we like the music that we like, and we talk about the connection that we have to it, and not necessarily try and force what we like onto them, but it's like, okay, now I understand why you like, say country or pop music. Now I understand why I like rock and metal and some of the super duper heavy stuff. All of a sudden, might start picking some up in their brain. We're thinking, might start to connect with this a little bit just to see what it might be like. And all of a sudden, they ask you for a band suggestion, and all of a sudden, I drop Eyes Wide Open on top of them. They check it out. They check out Wildfire. They check out Burnham. They check out all these songs. They're going to be like, what? Why was I not listening to this before?
Yeah, I think that happens a lot. Like, especially when you back when you went to school.
Yeah,
and people like putting CDs back then, back and forth, and like I started to like find bands like Korn and Manson, I think, and Rammstein, and that was kind of the bridge into heavier music for me, and started like listening to those bands, and it's like grew on me with all the other heavy bands like In Flames, and from there I went like back and beyond, I think, because I was listening to really heavy death metal, not all the way to black metal, but almost. So of course the music taste shifts during your years, but I think that's pretty cool when you get that like bridge song that gaps you over to the metal community, and you start like getting it, basically.
it is a beautiful thing. I mean, I still remember when that happened with me and because I used to never like unclean vocals, hated them, just couldn't get behind them. But like I was still listening to Linkin Park, and I'm like, okay, for some reason Chester Bennington's rougher style vocals, like I can still kind of get down with this. All of a sudden, I started doing this whole entire thing, and I was right around when Architects released Holy Hell, and I'm like, okay, people are talking about this. They say it's a great album, and let's listen to it and figure it out, and let's just see what happens. I'm like, okay, I listened to it one time through. I'm like, the unclean vocals are really taking me away, but there's something about the instrumentals here that are just really kind of hitting with me. I don't know what it is. And I went through the album and I'm like, okay, this is where I kind of came with my style. I'm like, okay, now I understand that this album talks about the 5 stages of grief from top to bottom, and the messages and the lyrics and the vocal tones and the instrumentals all go through that as well. But then I kind of held off a little bit until someone told me, oh, go listen to Motionless in White and see what happens, because they really liked them. I said, okay, I'll listen. Listen to the first song, which was Voice. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. Wasn't what I was expecting in terms of like, I thought it was gonna be heavier, but still has that kind of like gothic vibe because it looked like Chris Motionless, looked like Marilyn Manson. I'm like, okay. Then I listened to Eternally Yours. That was the exact moment I said I like metalcore. I was like, holy fuck. And since then it's just taken off, and it's just like, I love those moments, and it's just, I would love to be able to provide those moments to so many other people in terms of, okay, you might not necessarily like, punk rock. You might not necessarily like post-hardcore. You might not necessarily like metalcore. But it's like, oh, you don't like that much of punk rock? Here, listen to this track by Rise Against and see what happens. And all of a sudden, I'd be like, whoa, can we listen to more of that? And there's going to be me sitting there just like,
uh-huh. Yeah, definitely. I think Architects was another band that you showed to me, and like, that came into that like that way also.
I was really mind blown by Architects back when they dropped A Match Made in Heaven, right?
Yeah.
And that song, when it was released, I remember going to work and have it in my ears for 8 hours straight. Like just that song.
That's a good song.
I didn't even realize that I had it on for 8 hours straight. Like, it was super crazy.
Yikes, that's kind of similar to what happened to me the first time I heard Popular Monster by Falling in Reverse. I had it on my phone, I watched the video, I put my phone down, and I just was sitting there silent. I'm like, did I actually just hear that? Is this a dream? Like, what the hell? This is beautiful and heavy and hard. I'm like, okay, let's listen to it. I probably listened to that thing the whole entire day at work, and then when I was working out like for 2 hours, I kept that thing on repeat, and I'm just like, yeah, this is it, man. And all of a sudden, I had
cool when you find the songs like that really, really opens up your emotions, and that you can just like land in and have that feel for like the whole day, and just
you don't get tired of it. Like even if you listen to
feeding
it.
you.
Yeah, exactly. And when the same like breakdown hits you, or still like, even at work you can't like undo the headbang. It's like, all right, I'm gonna back to work.
I'm still at work. I mean, this is before the pandemic too, when I was at the office. I was still headbanging like crazy. I was looking like, what the hell's going on here? However, I was also the guy at work that would wear Ice Nine Kills and Motionless in White t-shirts because they allowed me to. And all of a sudden, okay, COVID hits, everyone's got to work from home. For my full-time job, I'm still working from home. So the only thing that's changed is that I'm not wearing jeans or like khakis. I'm wearing just athletic shorts or sweatpants because I can. Shirts still haven't changed though. I still wear the same shirts. But like that moment when it came to just really kind of having that moment where you latched onto something and get into a band, when it came to you guys, it was Wildfire. When I listened to that song and all of a sudden I heard that bridge and then how it ended with the chorus, I'm just like, I had that look of like, this is the moment. This is it. Because again, it's just the emotional connection to it. It hit, man. It hit.
Super cool. Nice to hear.
Like that song is a little bit of a wild card for us, right?
Yeah.
Like we really felt the chorus, but we weren't 100% sure of like how do you say it? Like the whole song. We kind of rebuilt that a lot of times. So like the final version is a lot different than the original version.
Yeah, we had like one foundation that we built the whole song, but it didn't really get the emotions right, and you didn't like get the energy pumping and stuff like that. So we rearranged the whole song basically, and I think it became a really good song. from that foundation. So.
No, if the foundation was different, if everything was different in the beginning, but the foundation was there, and that's what you built into, yeah. I was gonna say that, yeah. But nice. for everyone listening, because yes, we went in a little bit of burn, we went into Wildfire rather deeply, but with the album Through Life and Death. Again, like I said, I listened to the whole entire thing. I had 16 pages worth of notes. I had like a page and a half maybe for each and every song. But when it comes down to it, at the end, you guys know I like to give this overall kind of fulfilling thing to really kind of just summarize the album in terms of like press release style. So I'm going to give it to you right now so you can figure out if you should go and pre-order Through Life and Death right now. So here's what I said. Overall, this album really threw me for a loop. I'm not going to lie. Melodic death metal was something I thought I was never going to go for to kind of be like heavier, but this band came through and mixed so many other these modern metalcore aspects into it and made it so much more dynamic. The consistent use of chants in the choruses really made this album seem much larger than life than I could ever actually imagine. The flow on Devastation is absolutely fantastic, especially as it uses violence to create this theatrical intro to really set this album forward on a great start. Burnham did this even better with a more melodic style behind it by also using rougher tones and guitars to make you feel like your demons cannot defeat you. And then Wildfire did the same with the vocals, showing the frustration and urgency to break free, only to end with the building sense like a fire within you builds and burns better than any of the outside influences could ever dream of. Damn, this album uses its style to build melodically, heavily, rapidly, and with a good amount of chance to make you feel like you have an army behind you no matter what you might be going through.
That's some cool summarization. Round of applause.
So for everyone listening, do I suggest pre-ordering, pre-saving, go Through Life and Death, buy, eyes wide open? You damn well better believe I say that. So go and do that right at the end of this podcast because you will not be disappointed. Remember, it comes out November 12th.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
So, guys, as we close out this podcast, bring it to its conclusion, one thing I like to do at the end is give you guys a chance to say anything you want to say, promote whatever you want to promote, plug whatever you want to plug at the end, say whatever you want to say, honestly. So, guys, floor is yours.
All right.
Stage is ours.
Yeah. I just want to thank everyone that supported us this far. Our Patreons that has been supporting us for a while now. And as we told you, been a part of the making this album.
Yeah.
And also I want to thank your Rising Empire because they have been super supportive, and this release is really, we couldn't ask for more, basically. So we're super stoked about this release, and pre-order it. 12th of November is going out, and we're gonna hit the stage 13th.
Yeah.
So see you out there.
Come to Sweden.
Yes, go to Sweden if you're able to. Myself, at the moment, unfortunately, I don't think that's actually going to happen because, well, COVID. Yeah. You know, it's an unfortunate thing that I'm not a fan of. But here is the 3 things I will end this podcast with. Well, actually 4, because it wouldn't seem right if I told everyone to pre-order this album if I didn't also do it. Am I right? I mean, that just seems like something I should have done. So,
also, one thing, we should mention Blake Armstrong here because he's definitely the mastermind behind the artwork, and I think the artwork is amazing on this album.
Yeah. You guys are right. That artwork is it does have this kind of like, honestly, it has like this Tim Burton kind of Ice Nine Kills-ish quality to the artwork, but just taking a look at it, it really fits in with the whole entire theme. And like I said, it wouldn't be right if I told you guys to pre-order the album and I didn't do it myself. So let me hit this. Let me hit the pre-order button. Let's confirm it. And 1 second. Pre-order confirmed. Alrighty. Well, I got to be a man of my word, guys. I got to be a man of my word. So now I'm going to end this podcast with my 3 things. First things first. Guys, you're going to want to find Eyes Wide Open. You're going to want to follow these guys online. You're going to want to follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and wherever they're on social media. You're going to want to watch YouTube videos. You're going to want to become a Patreon on their Patreon. You're going to want to pre-order this album. You're going to want to pre-save it, buy some merch. And if you have a chance to go to that show on November 14th, I implore you to go because I am insanely jealous of whoever gets to go to that show. And I know what you're thinking. Kevin, make it as easy as possible for us to find this stuff, right? Right. Take a look at the description of the podcast. You're going to see Find Eyes Wide Open online. All the links will be there for their social media stuff, for where you can find the album, where you can stream the album, where you can listen to their music, where you can go to their website, buy some merch, and a link to where you can get tickets for that show on the 13th if you're in Sweden, because, well, that sounds like a whole lot of fun. Now, speaking of that show, time for thing number 2. Guys, there's a certain thing I like to do on this podcast with the guests I enjoy having on the podcast. It's a little promise I like to make. And every single guest I've had on the podcast has gotten this promise from me. Erik, Chris, yeah, you guys are getting it too. So here's my promise to you. This is not an if. No. If implies it might not happen. When implies it will happen. Time to be determined. When I get to see you guys perform live for the first time. Whether it's in Sweden, whether it's here in the United States, whether it's anywhere in Europe, I don't really care. My promise to you guys is this. First round is on me.
Awesome.
I thought you were going to say, I'm going to start the first Mosh Pit.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah.
I think that's implied already, so.
Okay, I got to hold you to the first round though.
Please do, because there have been bands that have held me to it, and I'm just like, good, let's go.
And we take the second round. So.
Yeah.
Like that. Alrighty. So Erik, Kristofer, I'm absolutely happy to have you guys on the podcast. Thank you guys for being on. And I can't wait to either make good on that promise or talk to you guys again on this podcast until then, because, well, one of those is going to happen first. I'd love to have you guys back on. So on that note, this ain't goodbye, guys. This is not goodbye. Goodbye implies that this is the end. No. This ain't the end. This is more like a see you later kind of thing. So, yeah.
Definitely.
See you guys later.
See ya, man. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being on, guys. Ooh, well, folks, that was my interview with Erik and Kristofer, the band Eyes Wide Open out of Sweden. Through Life and Death comes out on November 12th, so make sure you go pre-order it, pre-save it. Yes, I pre-ordered it as well on the podcast. If you don't believe me, where's iTunes? Hey, I'll show you guys. I will show you. Let's see. What does that say? Does that say pre-order? Oh, yes, it does. Okay, let me put this camera back because, well, for those of you listening, you didn't get to see it, but now you know. If you want to watch the YouTube video, you can see it. So when it comes to Eyes Wide Open, again, all the links are going to be in the description of the podcast for their socials, their Patreon, where you can watch the YouTube videos, all the music videos, where you can support them online, where you can buy some merch, where you can pre-order the album, pre-save the album, and that show on November 13th. If you're in Sweden, I implore you, go see Eyes Wide Open, play their release show, first show since the pandemic. Oh, it's going to be a great one. I wish I was there, guys. I always wish I was there. Also, please follow the Chord Progression Podcast if you haven't already. Please subscribe to it. You have us on YouTube. Here at episode, or now the YouTube video, or let's say the YouTube channel, Chord Progression Podcast. That's it. Well, we're still going to be doing other videos, but Chord Progression Podcast is the name of it. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at MSOTD_rocks. That will be changing at the beginning of the year. We're just going to go straight Chord Progression Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast, Spotify Podcast, iHeart Radio, and now Amazon, baby. You can listen on Amazon. All links will be in the description for you of the podcast, so you can check out all of those. I want to thank Phoenix Fitness for sponsoring this video, this podcast, all this great stuff. And make sure you go and listen to Through Life and Death when it comes out November 12th, everybody. November 12th, that's the day to go. On that note, that's going to be for me today, guys. Thank you for watching and listening to the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by MSOTD Rocks, where Rock and Metal Thrive. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. I'm the big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah!